Today we're diving into a book called Palabras do Infinito, which translates to Dispatches from the Afterlife. And the premise is just wild. What if a journalist didn't just stop working when they died? We're talking about a book that claims to be exactly that, reports filed directly from the other side. So really think about that question. What if a famous journalist could send back reports from the afterlife? Now forget everything you might think about ghost stories. This isn't about spooky bumps in the night. No. Imagine a top-tier reporter, someone known for being sharp, for being a skeptic, who just keeps his job after he dies. And he's sending back articles about what eternity is actually like. I mean, that's the unbelievable premise of this book, Words from the Infinite. And at the very heart of this whole thing is a partnership that, honestly, sounds completely impossible. On one hand, you've got Humberto de Campos. This guy was a literary giant in Brazil, a member of their highest academy, a super celebrated and sophisticated writer. And on the other hand, Chico Xavier, a really humble guy from a small town who barely had any formal education. But he claimed he could channel spirits. So the central claim of the book, the thing that makes it so wild, is that the mind of this famous academic was somehow speaking through the hand of this uneducated medium. It's an incredible setup. Okay, let's get into the first part of this incredible story. How exactly did this voice supposedly make its way back from, well, from the great beyond? So to really get this, you gotta picture the time. It's 1936. Humberto de Campos has only been gone for a couple of years, and suddenly this book just appears. Now, this wasn't some long-lost ancient text they dug up. No, this was an immediate contemporary event, and it just lit up a firestorm of controversy all across Brazil. People were losing their minds over it. And right there in the preface, the book lays it all out. The spirit of Humberto de Campos is basically using his lifelong skepticism as a credential. He's saying, hey, you can trust me because I was never a believer. I'm an unsuspected witness, just telling you what I see. He's framing this whole thing as the ultimate reporting gig. So, if a reporter gets to the afterlife, what's his first story? What's the headline? What does he actually see? Well, let me tell you, it is absolutely not what you'd expect. So right off the bat, Campos just starts tearing down all the classic ideas of heaven, the stuff we see in paintings and movies. He says he was totally expecting St. Peter at the pearly gates, maybe with a big old ledger checking off names. He was looking around for heavenly choirs and all that. But nothing. He found none of it. Instead, he says he was brought to this quiet, comfortable house that felt kind of like an old abbey. It wasn't a place of eternal rest, it was a place for study and meditation. And this quote just nails his new perspective. You see, the afterlife he's describing isn't about kicking back for eternity. It's about eternal education. This famous, celebrated academic suddenly finds himself as a total beginner again, just humbled and in awe, learning the basic alphabets of the universe. He's not resting on his laurels, no way. He's basically back in school. But Campos's reports go way beyond just describing the scenery. He pretty quickly shifts into full-on investigative journalist mode. He starts digging into the fundamental laws that run the spirit world. And what's his main beat? Justice. He tells this one chilling story in a chapter called In the Mansion of the Dead, and he says he witnessed this firsthand. It all starts with the death of this guy, a well-known lawyer, a real pillar of his community. Everyone thought he was this amazing moral person, totally respected. His funeral is, a huge deal, celebrating what everyone thinks was a great life. But then, picture this. It's getting dark at the cemetery, all the mourners have gone home, and the lawyer's spirit starts to wake up, right there, next to his own grave. And he's not alone. There's another spirit there, a woman, and she has been waiting for him, just simmering with rage. And then she hits him with it. Turns out, this lawyer had built his entire fortune by completely destroying her family, leaving her with nothing, and basically driving her to an early grave. He was seen as a pillar of society, sure, but his foundation was a dark, secret crime. And now, she tells him, his real judgment begins. Their souls are now tied together until his debt is paid. This whole story is a perfect illustration of a core concept in the book they call spiritual justice. The idea is simple but really powerful. You cannot escape the consequences of your actions, period. Justice isn't just something that happens in a human courtroom. It's presented as a universal law of nature, something as real and as inescapable as gravity. So, with this new understanding of cosmic law, this spiritual justice, Campos decides to tackle one of the biggest stories of betrayal in all of human history, Judas Iscariot. Now, get this. In the book, Campos says he actually meets the spirit of Judas, and Judas gives him a version of the story that turns history on its head. He says, forget the 30 pieces of silver. It was never about the money. Judas claims his betrayal was actually a misguided political plot. He was a passionate nationalist, and he wanted to force Jesus' hand, to make him lead a political revolution against the Romans. He thought getting Jesus arrested would spark a massive uprising. It was, according to him, a catastrophic political miscalculation. And what follows is this absolutely epic journey of redemption, which is a perfect example of that cause and effect law in action. So Judas says his suicide was just the beginning. He spent centuries in spiritual suffering. Then he reincarnated over and over to pay his debt. He lived as an early Christian during the Roman persecutions and suffered. And his final earthly test? He says it was during the Spanish Inquisition, where he was the one betrayed, sold out, and burned at the stake. A perfect final balancing of the scales. And this is his last haunting point. I mean, wow. He admits what he did, but then he turns a mirror right back on all of us, on humanity. He basically argues that, yeah, he sold Jesus once for a tiny amount, but the world's institutions, both political and religious, have been selling out his teachings for centuries for a much, much bigger profit. So after all these mind-bending reports about what the afterlife is like, about cosmic justice, about rewriting history, what's the bottom line? What's the ultimate message these dispatches from the infinite are trying to send back to us here on Earth? Really, it all boils down to a few key takeaways. First, life doesn't end. Death is just a transition, like moving to a new city. Second, the afterlife isn't a vacation. It's a place of work and constant learning. Third, all your actions have consequences, and real justice is absolutely inescapable. And maybe the biggest one of all is this: suffering isn't just punishment. It's actually a tool, something our spirit uses to grow and get stronger. And finally, through all of this, hope is the thing that guides you. And this quote, which the book attributes to Jesus himself, kind of serves as the whole mission statement. I mean, that's a powerful statement. It frames this entire thing, spirit speaking through mediums, as a direct divine intervention. It's a last resort, basically, because the living have lost their way. The dead have to speak, the book argues, because the living just aren't listening anymore. So, that leaves us with one final big question. And honestly, it doesn't even matter if you believe this is a real transmission from the afterlife or a brilliant piece of fiction. Belief aside, what do these words from the infinite really tell us about our own lives? What does a book like this say about us? It seems to tap into this deep, universal need we have for a universe that's fair, for a life that means something beyond just our time here, and for this radical hope that even our worst mistakes aren't the end of the story.